Perfect.
Welcome back, everybody, to episode 33 of the Bright Lights Podcast. I'm your host, Deegs, joined as always by my only co-host today, Mr. Brendan Mahoney.
What's up? How you doing, dog?
Both of us, college years are over. Freshman year of college is over.
Freshman year is over. Crazy.
That's kind of dope. Big summer for both of us. PT, obviously, too. He's not here. He had some things to attend to tonight. We miss him dearly, but he'll be back for the next podcast.
We're recording tomorrow, so you guys get ready for this action this summer.
Oh, yeah. We're going to drop some big dick damage from Bright Lights Podcast this summer. But yeah, I mean, college is over. Finals are done. So now we're both on summer break, working hard, working out, doing some fun stuff. Obviously, watching baseball, watching all the sports. Exactly. So this is going to be a baseball-only podcast. We're just going to we sat down. Mahoney picked some shit out. I picked some shit out. We're going to talk about some crazy stuff that's been going around the league, some things that have caught our eye and whatnot. Before we get into it, though, follow us on Twitter at Bright Lights Pod, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Subscribe to YouTube. Subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Sports Regime. You'll find us under the little podcast tabs. They've been super cool with us. We love those guys over there. And then, obviously, if you feel the need to leave us a 5-star rating and or any rating or a review on Apple Podcasts, let us know how we're doing. Please do so. So, as always, I hate wasting our time and your time. Mahoney, I'm going to let you start this off. We're kind of just going to bounce ideas off each other and see what happens.
Yeah, so before we start, Deegs, I told you before we recorded, I had an announcement to make. I'm going to make it now.
You didn't tell me what it was, so I'm kind of excited.
Yeah, so Bright Lights Podcast is going to have our first giveaway.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I got some shit ready to go. We're going to be giving away Chicago Dogs tickets, their third-row seats, which is actually pretty dope. I'm going to figure out more details tomorrow, so on our next podcast, we'll get it out there, get you guys figured out. It'll be something like retweet and follow us on Twitter for a entry into the giveaway. This will be our first one. I have actually a lot planned for the summer for giveaways. I've been talking to mi madre and stuff, figuring some stuff out, so get ready for the summer because a lot of shit is going down.
Fuck yeah, dude. You know what's funny about that is I was actually, after you know how we sometimes talk after we do these, like what are we going to do or whatever.
Yeah.
I was going to be like, hey, do you want to get like some old baseball cards or some shit and give those away? But you got that shit down, dude, and that's dope. So yeah, Mahoney's awesome. He's going to figure that out, and we're gonna be doing that. Probably more than once, I would hope. I mean, that's some pretty cool stuff to give back to the people that listen to us on a regular basis. The 18, shout out to the 18.
Shout out 18.
So now that super cool news that I didn't even know about is broken, let's talk some fucking baseball, dude.
Let's go.
Let's fucking do it.
All right, so first off, I want to talk about the Blue Jays a little bit. Toronto fans have something to be excited about for, I don't know, they really haven't had much to be excited about in a couple of years after the whole Jose Bautista Edwin Encarnacion. That whole team disbanded, but they've got some sons of Major League Baseball players coming up. They've got Bo Bichette, Dante Bichette's son. They've got Kevin Biggio, who is obviously Craig Biggio's son. And, of course, as everybody knows, he's already in the majors, Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Flat cakes.
Yeah.
Flat cakes,
yeah,
baby.
Dude. Thick dude.
Look at that ass.
Dude, I know. It's ginormous. Blue Jays lost 8-2 today to Boston, so it didn't look too good, but did Biggio come up today, or is he coming up tomorrow?
No, he's actually coming up tomorrow against my San Diego Padres. We're going to be in Toronto for a 3-game set with the Blue Jays.
And you know what? The Biggio, Bichette, and Guerrero, they're like 3 big-time prospects for the Toronto Blue Jays. So I'm pumped to see what Biggio's going to do. Obviously, not as much hype around him as Guerrero Jr., but still a decent amount of hype. I'm excited to see what he does. If he's even half of what his dad was, the Blue Jays have got a great baseball player on hand.
Yeah, dude, I mean, this kind of goes without saying, but anytime the son of a big league baseball player is going to make his big league debut or is on a prospect radar or even a draft radar, that's always something super cool, obviously, because you have that big league pedigree. We look at our game now. I mean, obviously, Ken Griffey Jr., his dad was pretty solid of a baseball player. Vladdy Jr., Fernando Tatis Jr., Dante Bichette, This kid, Bo, he's a stud. I love that guy.
Yep.
He'll probably, if he wouldn't have gotten hurt, he probably would have been in the bigs by now.
I think he would have gotten called up instead of Biggio at this point, but...
Yeah, because the service time probably would have came up maybe a week or two ago, so he probably would have been up. But, I mean, Biggio's number 9 in their system. I think he should be a little bit higher. He's a pretty toolsy prospect, good bat-to-ball skills, finds his way to get on base. Pretty solid defender over there at second base, too. I don't think he can play shortstop, but they got Bichette for that. So, it's cool. It's cool to see him making his debut against my team. I'll be watching the game tomorrow. The Padres actually called up Josh Naylor.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Prospect. Mr. Light Tower Power himself. Go watch some Josh Naylor highlights of what he's been doing in AAA. He hits fucking tanks. He's Canadian. He lives about 20 minutes away from what is it, the Rogers Center or whatever it's called?
Yeah, the Rogers Center,
up there in Toronto. So that's going to be cool. You know, a Canadian player making his big league debut in his hometown. Basically his hometown is pretty cool. We also have Cal Quantrill pitching on Saturday. He's Canadian. So a lot of fun things going on in Toronto this weekend. But yeah, super excited to see how those young guys do.
Yeah. Now we'll talk about another young guy. You know, he's a big-time prospect back a couple years ago. People really didn't think he'd turn out to be much after he was so disappointing the last couple years. We're talking about Josh Bell, who's having an unbelievable breakout year right now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking at his numbers right now. I think he raised his career batting average like 30 points this year. He's batting .330, has 15 bombs. I mean, just he's doing everything right now. He's leading the league with 45 RBIs. Bombs, actually. Absolutely insane.
He went yard today.
He did go yard today.
Went yard today.
He's having he's just on fire. I think he was NL Player of the Week last week. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins it again this week because he's on fire. He's looking so good. He's making a case for NL Player of the Month, which, I mean, why not? I mean, he's on fire.
Yeah, dude, I mean, he's a guy that a lot of people wrote off after he kind of had a good rookie year, kind of like that big power guy, big power projectability in his frame. Obviously, he's very big, a very large human being. Mm-hmm. But kind of sucked last year. I think he hit maybe 10 or 11 home runs last year, something super low for a guy that should be hitting 30 bombs every year.
Yeah, he hit 12 last year.
Yeah, so he's playing out of his mind. The Pirates are playing out of their mind right now, a team that has a very solid pitching staff, has some guys in their lineup that could be dudes for them that are, they string
the Dicks, baby, Corey Dickerson.
Yeah, a string of at-bats together here and there, and they could do some damage to opposing pitching staffs. I know you're not very big on, the whole StatCast numbers and all that shit.
I don't know, dude. It's kind of starting to change on me this year.
So,
I don't know.
So I was looking – that's what I was doing before we got on here. I was looking at him and three other guys that I'll touch on here in a little bit. But Josh Bell's slash line on the year, 339, 408, 718 with 16 bombs.
Oh, my God.
I think he's hit fucking 5 bombs that have actually physically left PNC Park.
Yeah, he's the first player ever to put in the Allegheny River two times in one game. Right?
Yeah, that's crazy. 47 RBIs, like you said, leads the National League. He has the highest average exit velo in all of baseball. 96% is his, or 96 mile per hour is his average exit velo, which insane. Is absurd.
Yeah, it's insane.
He's top 3% in barrel percentage, which basically means a barrel is when you hit a ball, the expected batting average of that ball is 500, and the slugging percentage of that ball is 1,500. So he, at 19% of the time, he's barreling up the baseball. He's top 97th percentile in exit velo, hard hit percentage, expected on-base percentage, expected batting average, and expected slugging percentage. So that's fucking absurd, dude, for a guy that, honestly, I understand Cody Bellinger is having a phenomenal year, and we'll talk about him in a little bit because what he's doing really hasn't been done in a really long time. But this guy has to be right in the MVP conversation. Obviously, Bellinger's the leader. You have Yelich, too. Javi Baez is putting his name up there, and a ton of other guys. But the way he's playing, the way that he's kind of given the Pirates this sort of life and this jump up, it's amazing. It's incredible. He is pissing on baseball.
Oh, it's unreal.
The only really the only thing he really does bad is he kind of sucks as a defensive player. But when you're hitting the way he's hitting, who gives a shit? I don't care.
If you're hitting, you're going to find somewhere on the field.
Yeah, dude. So, real quick, let's touch on one of the things I have written down here. I just mentioned him, Cody Bellinger. I was listening to the Fangraphs Effectively Wild podcast, which is really fucking good. They dive into a bunch of stats, advanced stats, really look at baseball from a different perspective. And they were talking about Cody Bellinger and kind of this race to 400, really. And I think the last guy to really hit 400, maybe Ted Williams. I think Carl Yastrzemski did it. It hasn't been done a lot, okay? Hitting for 400 is absurd. The last guy that got really close to doing it was Tony Gwynn in that year where there was a strike. I think he would have gotten 400.
Mm-hmm.
But Cody Bellinger, up until like 2 days ago, was hitting 404. He's now hitting 394 with a 478 OBP and a 765 slugging percentage, 17 bombs and 44 RBIs. So, I mean, he's right up there with all the league leaders in almost all these categories. Ranks in the 96th percentile or higher in exit velocity, hard hit percentage, expected on base percentage, expected slugging, expected batting average, which is Fangraphs is expecting this guy right now to end the year with a 399 batting average. So
which
1
is,
point off of 400, which is fucking incredible. This one was kind of really eye-popping to me. He's 95th percentile in sprint speed from the left side of the batter's box. So, I mean, you have a guy who hits for power, and he's fast as shit, and he's already at a 4.1 WAR. Last year, in the whole season, he was at a 3.4. So he's already amassed his wins above replacement for last year. 93 miles per hour average exit velo, top 4% in the league. He's hitting the ball at a hard hit rate of 53%, which is incredible. His K percentage and his walk percentage are identical at 14%. So he's walking literally as many times as he strikes out, which is for a guy who's had strikeout problems. Yeah. That's incredible, especially for a guy who has that big, long power swing like Bellinger. That's absolutely incredible. This one is really, really impressive. His line drive percentage is almost higher than his fly ball percentage. Line drive percentage, 34.3% of the time he hits a ball which is considered a line drive, and 35.7% of the time he hits a ball that's considered a fly ball, which is fucking incredible.
Yeah.
For a guy he's a power hitter. So we got to talk about the chase to 400. Is he going to hit 400? I doubt it. I don't think anyone's ever going to do that, especially now.
But I just checked your stat. You are correct. Ted Williams was the last one to do it in 1941.
Yeah. So what is that, like almost 80 years?
Yeah, and the closest one, you were correct, is Tony Gwynn in 94. He hit 394.
Yeah, that's absurd. And that was the year that got closed down by the strike. And I think Gwynn would have done it. But, I mean, Gwynn at that point, he's one of the best contact hitters of all time. So 394 batting average. If he hits above 390, you're looking at a guy who's going to hit 40 home runs probably. Mm-hmm. That's probably like it's got to be one of the best seasons ever. Like ever in the whole history of baseball to ever play. Every single player that's ever played. If he hits above even if he hits above 380, maybe even 370 with 40 bombs, that's got to be in the conversation of one of the greatest baseball years, statistically speaking, ever. So what he's doing right now, I mean, it's fucking incredible. He's not going to hit over 400. That's literally almost impossible. It hasn't happened in like 78 years or whatever you said. Yeah. But, I mean, had to touch on Cody Bellinger because I hate him because he plays for the Dodgers. He destroys my team, but he's so good.
You know what, though? You're right about the 400 watch, but honestly, at this point of the season, we could honestly start getting on Triple Crown watch with Cody Bellinger.
Yes, definitely.
It's starting to get
interesting.
interesting.
A Triple Crown thing. Because, I mean, so what the Triple Crown is home runs,
RBIs and
batting average, right?
Yeah.
So you have to look at RBIs as kind of like an anomaly because you have to get guys on base in front of you to be able to drive those guys in, which is why I think it's a stupid stat. But he plays for the best lineup in baseball.
Yeah.
So guys are going to get on in front of him. He's got, on any given night, probably like Justin Turner, who gets on base a lot. A guy like Kike Hernandez, Jock, Max Muncy.
Jock?
I mean, those are four guys who are going to get on base for you. Right now, he leads Melky Cabrera, who's in second place in batting average, by 60 points.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking absurd. He's behind Yelich with 2 home runs. Yelich has 19. He has 17. And he's 1 RBI behind Josh Bell and Marcell Ozuna. So, I mean, it's very doable. If this guy at the All-Star break is probably going to be leading the Triple Crown. Think about the drop-off he would have to take for Melky Cabrera to catch him 60 points behind him. Like, it's just not going to happen. No. He's going to hit above, like, 360. If he goes into a shithole slump, he's still going to be hitting like 350 with a 450 OBP, like a 600 slugging percentage. That's fucking crazy, dude. Seriously, that's like Barry Bonds' crazy number.
No, it is. It really is.
All right, go ahead and go on one of your topics here. I've talked enough.
So with these next two topics, we'll just go back to back. We're going to talk about our Chicago baseball teams. First, we'll start out with the White Sox, who just split with the Houston Astros, and I don't know how, because the first two games that we played the Astros, we looked like Little League teams. We looked like Little League teams.
That was the Verlander game, right, where he had like a no-no in the seventh, and then someone hit a dong and broke it up?
Yeah, Abreu hit a dong, but you know what? Those two games, we didn't have our pitching. We had a bullpen day, and then we had somebody else pitch, and it just was not well. But we had We had Giolito throw tonight, threw a complete game shutout, his first in his career. It's just the White Sox are clicking right now. They're surprising the hell out of me. I'm really pumped about it. Tim Anderson, again, he's just on fire. Yohan Moncada is finally turning a corner. One thing about Tim Anderson, though, that I want to say is with his talking, I've been listening to a crap ton of podcasts, and he's been a guest on so many of the podcasts I listen to, all the White Sox ones. He just goes on there and talks. And honestly, he is one of the best interviewed people to talk about because he speaks so well, and I just want to put that out there. He just knows how to talk. And he knows what he's doing, and he knows what he can do. So I want to talk about one thing, his remarks about being the next Jackie Robinson, which I thought was pretty interesting, which he actually talked about. Obviously, he said that he meant no, he didn't mean to sound like he's changing the color barrier and stuff, but he wants to break a different kind of barrier, which is what we on the podcast have expressed very strongly. He wants to break the fun barrier. He says too many people aren't having fun in baseball anymore. Mark DeRosa said on MLB Network that if his kid bat flipped, he'd throw him in the car. And Tim Anderson said something back. He said, "Your house must not be fun." And then DeRosa commented on Anderson's thing and was like, "Listen, come to our house and you'll see how fun it is." And Anderson gladly declined that. But Anderson's trying to make baseball fun again. It's a good time to be a White Sox fan. I'm pumped. It's a good time to be a Padres fan. And it's a good time to be a Cubs fan, honestly, because they're looking really, really good right now. Interestingly enough today, Deegs, I want to hear your thoughts on this. Did you hear about this, that Tyler Chatwood pinched hit in the ninth inning today and hit a double?
Yeah.
That's crazy. At least he's doing something for him.
He's been pretty good out of the bullpen. Out of the bullpen, he's been good. He's a guy who was kind of a strange signing for me when the Cubs signed him because he was a guy who, he had pretty solid numbers at Coors. He throws gas. He throws like 96 and 98. Pretty good off speed. Has control issues, which, most guys that are fucking 5'11", 6 foot that throw gas have control issues.
Yeah.
But kind of a weird signing for me. I like him out of the pen. He's made a couple spot starts for them here and there. He's been pretty solid. I vividly remember one game where they went into extra innings. He came in and pitched like 4 or 5 shutout innings.
Uh-huh.
I think no hit baseball through those innings. Just really good. When he's on, he's got electric stuff. Plus, when he's commanding his fastball, he paints it. He throws hard, obviously. Got some arm side run to it. So he's a really good pitcher when he's on. Again, super overpaid. Will always be overpaid because of he just isn't really that kind of guy.
Uh-huh.
He should be commanding that kind of money. But for a bullpen that kind of sucks, that's a pretty good arm to have come out of the pen. You talked on the 2 Chicago sports teams. I have 2 things on them real quick. In terms of the Cubs, we'll talk about them first. Chris Bryant, dude. Chris Bryant's fucking back.
Yeah.
This is MVP Chris Bryant form that we're seeing. 11 dongs, 32 RBIs, hitting 280 on the year, slugging over 500, getting on base at an over 400 clip. He had like a 26 fucking on-base streak. They're playing him in right field. He's playing pretty solid. They're moving him around. He's playing third. He's playing right. He's playing left. He can spell Rizzo and play first when Rizzo needs an off day. So obviously that's a versatile guy you can have. The biggest thing for me with Chris Bryant is even when he won the MVP, he struck out way too much.
Oh, I know.
He struck out way too much last year too. I understand he was hurt, but pretty much every year he's been a big strikeout guy.
Uh-huh.
This season, struck out 34 times and walked 32 times.
Yeah.
So that's impressive
Perfect, yeah.
for a guy who's always been kind of a undisciplined approach. You could get away with throwing him soft away or high and in or something like that, and he would chase percentages down, pitches out of the zone, swing percentage. It's all down, so he's showing a much better refined approach. In terms of what that means for the Cubs, obviously, you get a guy like that who, when he's on, is an MVP caliber player. Javi Baez playing the way he is. I mean, that fucking walk-off he had the other day was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, Rizzo is out here.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, Rizzo. Rizzo's on fire too, dude. When
Rizzo
those two are
is
clicking,
a monster. Kyle Schwarber's hitting the ball well.
I like what he did with his stance. He changed his stance a little bit. He's a little bit lower.
Yeah.
I think it just makes him more of a balanced hitter. Because, I mean, as we see this year from his numbers, he's hitting lefties a lot better this year.
Yeah, I mean, he was terrible against lefties, and he's been really solid against lefties this year. I mean, yeah, you don't really have any black holes in that lineup. Wilson Contreras is playing out of his mind right now.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the only black hole is that piece of shit Addison Russell, who hopefully at some point when Zobrist comes back or something, just gets launched to the fucking sun. I hate that guy, and he sucks at baseball.
Huh.
But, I mean, yeah, their pitching's been good. Darvish has been good. For the most part, when he's not walking 15 batters a game.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, chat with the bullpen. So the Cubs are looking good. They're going to win the NL Central.
Yeah.
I think they are going to give the Dodgers a competition to go into the World Series. Maybe even make it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Moving over to the South Side, the guy I really want to talk about because I was watching his game at the gym today, Lucas fucking Giolito, baby. You're talking about a guy who literally last year was the worst pitcher in baseball. Highest ERA.
He was 130 out of 130.
Yeah, he was fucking awful last year. Turns it around completely. A first-round pick from the Nationals, had Tommy John surgery, throws absolute gas. I think it'll be a steal in the end when they got, was it, Adam Eaton? They got this guy for Adam Eaton.
Yeah.
That's going to be a steal. Adam Eaton's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
In terms of his numbers, he's 6-1. 2.77 ERA, 59 Ks. That's pretty solid. That's right up there with guys like, Chris Paddock's at like 60. I can't really think of other guys, but 59 Ks is good. 19 walks, which is not bad.
Well, that's actually big for him because that was his big thing last year was walks.
Yeah. 1.06 WHIP, which is good. I mean, pretty much only one batter per inning is solid. Opponents are hitting 205 off him, which is way less than last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like you mentioned, his strikeout percentage this year, 28.6, and a 10.3 walk percentage. Last year, 16.1 Ks percentage, 11.6 walks.
Yeah.
So he's striking out guys at over a 12% clip, throwing his fastball a lot more. He's at like a 52% fastball usage. The changeup has been good for him, 23% of the time. He's throwing a changeup. He's throwing it low. He's throwing it for strikes. He's not missing up. And I mean, for a guy, his FIP last year, which is like, it's not a perfect stat, but it's a stat that tries to calculate, like, because you know how ERA is like not earned runs and all that fun stuff. It tries to calculate really how good of a pitcher you are. Last year he was at like a 5.9 something. This year he's at like a 2.8, 2.9. So I mean, he's turned it around completely. I mean that right there was a guy who I think at one point was like the top pitching prospect in all of baseball, a top 10 prospect overall for sure, front of the line projection. I mean, if this guy fucking turns it around and keeps on doing what he's doing, which I think he will because of the pedigree, the first round pick, how highly he was rated. You know, he's got that hard fastball.
Yeah.
He can throw for strikes. He's got a curveball and a slider, too, that he can flash, flip it over for you to get ahead.
Exactly.
And stuff like that. So, if this guy turns into a number one or a number two, the White Sox are looking fucking good, dude. With Cease coming up.
Well, that's the thing, though. With Cease and Kopech, they're going to be our 1 and 2. And if Kopech can slide in at 3, that's going to be a damn good 1, 2, and 3.
I think Kopech slots in at your 1. Obviously, he's like the prize, like the number 1 guy.
Yeah.
Fucking sucks that he went down with Tommy John. I think Giolito's your 2 because he's really good, dude.
Yeah.
He's really good. And then you slot in Cease at the 3, which is a really solid 3 if he pans out. And if Reynaldo Lopez is your 4 or 5, I understand Reynaldo Lopez is kind of like one of the more inconsistent guys. One game he'll strike out like fucking 15 batters, and the next game he'll be terrible.
Which is a perfect 4 or 5.
But he's a good 4 or 5. I mean, yeah, he's had pretty solid numbers. Even last year, he was pretty solid. He throws hard. He just kind of lacks command sometimes. But, I mean, anytime you throw hard and you can run it up in the zone or paint a corner or something, you're going to be effective. And if that guy's your 4 and you get someone by chance to be a solid 5, a veteran pitcher who knows how to pitch at 5, that's good. That's a good rotation.
Well, I mean, and the Sox have a shit ton of money to spend, so they're going to spend.
Exactly.
My prediction is that this next season, they're going to try and they're going to overpay for Garrett Cole or Madison. They're going to overpay for somebody, which is fine by me. They're going to get someone that can lock down that starting rotation, really add a veteran presence. So I'm excited about it. But before we move on, I want to talk about one more player, Eloy Jimenez, who is finally starting to click. I mean, he went on his rehab assignment in AAA, and he batted like 400 with 2 bombs. And when he first started in the big leagues, I wasn't worried, but you could tell that he was struggling. He was really struggling to hit that slider away. And his first home run yesterday was actually a slider away. So I think he's finally starting to get used to things. He's finally starting to adjust and get used to that major league veteran pitching. So, I mean, he hit a homer off Cole yesterday, who's a really good veteran pitcher. So, he's finally starting to turn a corner, and I am so pumped about that. Good time. It's a good time.
Yeah, dude. I mean, small sample size, but I saw a tweet yesterday where Eloy, in terms of, like, impact players that play every day, was, like, the second lowest WAR, like, -1 or something. That's a small sample size.
-1.
I don't read into that much, but obviously he didn't have the start to the year like Vladdy had, or I mean not start. Vladdy kind of sucked, but I mean he's turning it around now. Tatis was on fire to start the year. Pete Alonso was on fire to start the year. It's kind of cooled off, but Eloy is, I mean, number 3 prospect in all baseball. The guy hits tanks. Nobody should be worried about him. I think all young players struggle with that slider away. Tatis struggles with it too. I mean, that's a guy that I watch all the time. Franmil Reyes struggles with it too. Even Machado, he's really good at spitting on it, but sometimes he'll go down there and swing at it. It's just a tough pitch to hit because it's a strike. It's a strike. It looks like a fastball and it dips away at the end. But I mean, if you can learn to spit on that and sit on a fastball or a hanging curveball or a changeup up in the zone or something, that's where the good hitters get separated from the great hitters.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But Eloy's really good. I mean, he's a stud. So.
Yeah, and let's stick with the AL Central here because I'm getting a little worried.
Oh, yeah. You should be worried. You should be very worried. Well, any Cleveland Indians fans listening to this shit should be very fucking worried about the Minnesota Twins.
Hot take right here. Trade deadline is going to be really interesting for Cleveland. If they're at where they're at right now, we're going to see if Kluber's back and healthy, we might see him go. Trevor Bauer, who's actually struggling right now, that's going to be an interesting trade piece for Cleveland. Mike Clevenger, if he gets healthy, you never know. He's kind of young, though, so they might stick with him. But guys like Frankie Lindor, their general manager, said it themselves that watch him while you can because he's probably not going to be wearing a Cleveland Indian uniform for long because we're not going to be able to afford him.
The Indians have been just bent over and railed by injuries this year.
Well, and they have like the worst outfield in the league.
Yeah, I mean their outfield is I can't even tell you who plays for them. I honestly can't even tell you who's on that outfield. But I mean, Clevenger's been gone since like the second week of the year. Kluber's out for whoever knows. Bauer's getting lit up like a goddamn Christmas tree.
Yeah. And
Shane Bieber is just like Reynaldo Lopez. One day he'll strike out like 30 guys.
Yep.
And the next day he'll get titty. So the Indians, if I'm the Indians, dude, and I know we didn't mean to talk about the Indians.
Yeah, no, we didn't, but we'll just talk about it.
Ramirez has been fucking awful for you. And you're not catching the Twins. They're like 6 or 7 games back right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, Minnesota is playing out of their mind. I understand, but you could have the greatest pitching staff in the world, and you'll probably win some 2-1 games. But who is driving in runs on your team?
Well, and
Frankie
you know what,
Lindor?
dude?
Who's getting on base for Lindor to drive guys in?
Even Lindor's having a little bit of a down season.
They're terrible. They're awful. The Indians are terrible. Their bullpen sucks.
And like, if you would have told a Cleveland Indian fan that the Sox would only be 1 or 2 games behind them
they would have
at the end of May, like, it's bad. Like, this is bad for Cleveland. And like you said about Jose Ramirez, I saw him play against the Sox a couple weeks ago. he connected with a homer. I think that was like his third of the year. But his other at bats looked stupid. He looked
He's
like
been
he was
awful.
lost.
And that's the guy who's what? He's like people fucking peg this guy ahead of guys like Bregman and fucking Machado.
Yeah.
Well, he's hitting 196 and 188 Bs. Like it's not a small sample size here. The guy's almost at a quarter or a third of the ABs he's going to have on the year, and he's hitting 196. He's getting on base at a sub 300 clip.
Yeah,
like,
and
oh man,
it's just bad.
All right, let's talk about the fucking let's talk about the Twins here.
Okay, so first off, before we start talking about the Twins, for fantasy, I was looking for a little pitching help for today. I'm facing PT and fantasy this week. I think I'm up by like 1 or 2 or down by 1 or 2. It's really close, so I was going to look for a pitcher to pick up. And I was going to pick up Matt Harvey because he's had great last 3 starts. I'm very happy I didn't pick him up because the Twins fucking put their fist up his ass because it was 8-0 by the 3rd inning. It was unbelievably bad. The Twins are on fire. They're leading the league in home runs. And it's honestly not even close. I mean, they're really leading the league in home runs. Their pitching staff is unreal right now. Their bullpen is phenomenal. I mean, everything's clicking for this team. They're going to win the AL Central. And I know everybody says every year the Twins, they're going to slow down. They're going to slow down. I don't see this team slowing down at all because it's the end of May, guys. Like, if they were going to slow down, it would have happened by now. They're the favorites of the AL Central by far right now. And honestly, I know there's some big-name teams, but the way they're playing right now, the Twins are kind of the favorites to go to the World Series in the AL, in my opinion.
Yeah, dude. I mean, when you look at teams that are going to make playoff runs or win division titles and all that fun stuff, do they have an ace? Do they have a good bullpen? And can they score runs? Do the Twins have an ace? Yes. Jose Barrios is a fucking ace, dude. He is
even
so
Odorizzi.
Yeah, Jake Odorizzi's been good for them. I mean, they've had a lot of guys that have stepped in and pitched out of their minds. Their bullpen has been really solid for all year long. And in terms of hitting, well, you got Jorge Polanco out here hitting 340, Nelly Cruz hitting tanks, C.J. Cron, Marwin Gonzalez. Like, these guys are good, dude.
I know.
They're fucking good. The Minnesota
and they have
Twins
such a good farm system, too.
They do. They're going to win the AL Central, dude. They're going to win the AL Central by a lot, I think.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, the White Sox will finish in second, but the Twins they're the best team in that division. I don't think it's really close, to be honest.
I don't think so either. Like, as a White Sox fan, not only am I nervous for this year, but the only thing that kind of settles me with the Twins is they have a lot of veterans right now that's kind of piecing everything together for them. So we'll see how that happens with them. But I mean, their farm system's unreal. So it's gonna be back like 2008, 2009, 2010, 2007. I'm pumped. The AL Central is going to be back with the Twins and the White Sox going back and forth every year. Hopefully it doesn't go the same way that all those other years did because the Twins fucked us every year. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm excited. I mean, the Twins are playing good baseball. And as a baseball fan, I love it.
Yeah, dude. It's good for a small market like Minnesota to get quality baseball back.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Moving on to something that I've been very interested about because my team is involved. I don't know how many of you, or if you do, Mahoney, watch MLB Network.
I'm watching it right now at this very moment.
My wonderful friend, Mark DeRosa, former infielder for the 15 teams that he played for. Talking a little bit about the Washington Nationals here, about if the stuff stays the way it is, which it probably will, because they're fucking bad right now. To be honest with you, I'm a dumbass for picking them to win that division. They're so bad. Yeah. But will the Nationals deal Mr. Steven Strasburg and or Max Scherzer? And one of the trades would send Strasburg to San Diego, so that was cool.
Yes.
And Scherzer was tossed around in a few. I can't quite remember what they were. So
I feel like you're about to lit DeRosa up, not going to lie.
What'd you say?
Are you about to lit DeRosa up?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I am fucking ecstatic, dude. So I know we touched on this the other day. when we talked about if the Nationals would deal Rendon, Strasburg, Scherzer, whatever.
Rendon's
And
number one on their list by far. Number one.
That was kind of like a hypothetical, like, hey, this might happen. Will they turn it around? They got piss pounded by the Miami Marlins, who have won 6 games straight. Yep. The worst team in baseball. Just won six games against the Mets and the Nationals.
No, they swept the Tigers, buddy.
Oh, whatever. Okay, I'm a dumbass. Who cares? Yeah. Okay, don't listen to anything I say. Their manager, Davey Martinez, who for some reason that team decided to let go of Dusty Baker. I don't know why. But they did. And they hired a guy who has no managing experience as a head coach. So he's probably going to get fired soon. He'd probably be the first guy to go. So now with the team slumping and on the books to pay Steven Strasburg, who's 30 years old, he will be making $35 million this year.
Holy shit.
$25 million the next year. $15 million the 2 years after that. And then in 2023, he will be making $45 million.
What the hell?
As a 34-year-old pitcher.
Who structured that contract?
Whoever it is a fucking genius. I'll tell you that. And then Max Scherzer, 34-year-old Max Scherzer, is making $30 million this year, $28 million next year, and $27 million the year after that. It comes off the books in 2022. So I ask you, my friend, with all the money and the shit ton of money that these guys are going to be making, obviously with the Nationals not being where they want to be, they might want to get rid of this massive amount of cap hit they're going to be receiving soon, and bring in obviously whoever they trade for. If they trade away Strasburg or Scherzer, they're going to get a crazy prospect pool back. So what do you think? Is it possible that we see quite possibly the best 1-2 duo in baseball get split up at the deadline?
How many years does Strasburg have left?
He's under contract till 2024. So what is that? 4 years? He'll be 35 when he's a free agent.
And then Scherzer has what? 3?
3, and he will be 37 when he's a free agent.
Okay. What I'm going to say here is Rendon's gone. That's actually in my head already. He's gone. He's 1 year left on his contract. He's gone.
He's got to be gone. You got to trade him if you're not making the playoffs.
Yeah. Even some other guys like Yan Gomes might be gone, but that's besides the point. Strasburg, just because he's on contract for so much longer, I'm going to say they hold on to him. But Scherzer, 3 years is still close for me. I would say that next year, or maybe this winter, Scherzer's gone. This is what they're going to do. If they don't get the deal that they want, which is probably going to be 2 or 3 top 100 prospects for Scherzer.
It has to be. It has to be.
They're going to hold on to him. They're going to let their fans see him for probably the last time this year and either trade him this offseason. And depending on next year, he's gone at the trade. If the Nationals are this bad next year, I'm saying Strasburg and Scherzer will probably be gone at that point.
Here's my thought process between it, right? I think they're going to be terrible for the rest of the year because their bullpen sucks.
Their bullpen is
they really can't hit the ball.
Terrible.
They really haven't gotten any offensive production from Dozier, Soto. Pretty much anybody in their lineup has been pretty bad, except for Trey Turner and occasionally Victor Robles. So with me, Strasburg, he's 30 years old, so I mean he's still in his prime. He's under team control until 2024, so that has to be kind of sexy in a way for some teams that want him because he's under control. Well, the Padres,
like
DeRosa
said, that'd be perfect for the Padres.
Exactly, because he's their window of contention is like 2021. He's still going to be 32. He's a number 2. He's a really good number 2. Probably a below average number 1, but still he's a veteran arm. He knows how to pitch. He's really fucking good. I think that guy nets you more prospects just because he's younger. He's got more years of control. Obviously, Max Scherzer is the better pitcher, but I don't see a team dealing for Scherzer unless it's like, we got to win a fucking World Series, like right now. Like, now is the time to win the World Series. Blow up everything and trade for Scherzer. Like, that's what has to happen. And, I mean, I look at teams like that. Maybe the Brewers, maybe, like, this is our time. Like, get him the fuck into Milwaukee, which would be kind of crazy.
That would be
maybe
crazy.
Even the Tampa Bay. maybe even the Tampa Bay Rays. Like, let's just trade away guys and get Scherzer. The Twins possibly too.
Do you know where I think he's going to go? I think he's going to go to the Yankees.
Maybe the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees could obviously make it work. They have the money. Fuck, God, I say this. I hate to put this even on the table.
The Flubbies.
But the fucking Los Angeles Angels, I could see them trying to. I mean, I don't know what you'd give up there. Maybe Joe Adele for Scherzer, which I think would be a mistake. But maybe Justin Upton in there to make the money works. I mean, something has to go.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know, dude. These are two really good pitchers. Obviously, Scherzer is one of the better – if he's a top 3 guy in all of baseball, with Strasburg being a top 20 guy. So whoever gets him is going to be – that's an impact arm ready to go. I think it could happen, dude.
I think so,
we
too.
Could see a complete overhaul. I think Rendon's got to go. I don't think they'll make the same mistake they did last year where they could have traded Harper at the deadline and they didn't because they thought they could re-sign him. I don't think they'll do that this year. I think if they're not turning it around or if Rendon doesn't get extended, he's gone. He's got to be gone. You have to trade him.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot make the same mistake you made last year.
Yep.
But, yeah, it's just interesting to see because this team was, on paper, really good. I mean, on paper, they have, like, the best rotation in baseball. But it just really hasn't panned out.
Yeah. Now let's go to New York again. Let's go to the Mets. I kind of want to talk about that a little bit. Giraffe Neck Mark, buddy. You may be listening. You may be not.
I'm so sorry.
It's not going well. And this is what I'm going to say. Because us White Sox fans and the New York Mets fans actually have a very special relationship. I'm not sure if I mentioned this on the podcast, but we call each other the Sons of Uribe. Uribe was both unreal on both teams, but both teams are the same where they're the little brothers of bigger teams like the New York Yankees, New York Mets, Chicago Cubs, Chicago White Sox. A lot of similarities there. But one thing that we would never do is fuck up getting a player to a baseball field. Did you hear about this, Deegs?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Was it Rajay Davis?
Yep. Did you hear about that?
I saw it. I got a notification of it, but I didn't. I didn't see it.
You ready for this?
I didn't even know he was on the Mets.
It's all right. So they signed him to a minor league deal contract at the beginning of the year, and he's been in AAA for this whole time, and he's been playing really good. You know, Rajay Davis is an MLB player. So first off, booked a late plane ticket. And then they forgot to get him a ride to Citi Field. So
this is the most Mets thing I've ever heard.
So he had to pay for his own Uber. It was a $243 Uber from the airport to Citi Field. He then got lost in Citi Field. He had to ask people where to go. He showed up in the 4th inning. This is a cool story though. They pinch hit him in the 8th inning and he had a home run to take the lead. So that's just one of the craziest, stupidest stories I've ever heard.
That is right up. That's the most. That and do you remember the Mets spring training thing at the beginning of the year where they had to go right when spring training was ending or like right before the regular season, they had to go train at some fucking facility or something, and the mounds were like JV high school level mounds, and Noah Syndergaard was so pissed off about it on Twitter.
Yep.
Do you remember? Do you remember that shit?
I do remember that.
And that story you just told is the most Mets thing ever. You want to know what else is the most Mets thing ever? I'll tell you what the most Mets thing ever is. Trading a guy who's hitting like fucking 400 right now in single A, and I understand win now, like I get it, but trading him for a 35-year-old second baseman who's hitting like 220, a closer who's amazing, but you can't ever use him because your team's never winning.
Yep.
To use him in the 9th inning, and then signing a 36-year-old Jed Lowry to play second base, who hasn't even played this year yet.
No.
Like what the fuck, dude? I remember Giraffe Neck Mark, and I love the guy. I love him to death. We talk a lot
he's
on
the man.
Twitter DMs every time that Peter Alonso does something, or every time Paddock does something, we kind of talk shit to each other there. He's a super cool guy. Go sub to him on YouTube. Great content. But why the fuck did he pick the Mets to win the World Series in his MLB World Series prediction video?
Yeah.
That was dumb as shit, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't see it. they have good players. Obviously, Jeff McNeil's having a good year. Pete Alonso, he's a fucking pussy, but he's having a good year too. But all their acquisitions have been terrible. Yuri's Familia has been terrible. Wilson Ramos has been terrible.
Dude, I'm pissed. He's my
Cano,
catcher on fantasy. He is so disappointing. Him and Votto are just fucking my team. Well, Cano just got put on the IL, and so did McNeil.
Yeah, because he's everyone's dog in the 35-year-old for not running out of ground ball, so he runs out of ground ball and he pulls his hamstring. Like, maybe you should realize that Robinson Cano has only ever hit the DL twice in his entire life, and both of them have been by hustling out ground balls that he shouldn't have been hustling, and then he gets hurt. Yeah. So, like, chill, all right? Chill on it. That's a whole different story. But every guy that Brody Van Wagen's pretty much brought in has been dog shit. The only good thing he really did was extend DeGrom. But even then, like, they're just bad. Mickey Callaway, I don't know, dude.
I really don't know how he's still the manager of that fucking team.
I understand. Yeah, he's made some pretty shitty decisions, but again, it's got to be at some point the roster construction too. He's not really getting that many good players to work with. The front office has fucked up royally. Brody Van Wagen, a guy who we raved about in the offseason.
We really did.
Bad. It's been bad, dude.
Yeah.
But,
well, you know what?
Hopefully they turn it around.
Again, with White Sox fans and Mets fans having the same thing, I hate to say this, Mark. This feels just like, what year was it? The 2016 White Sox. Before we traded Sale, before we traded Eaton, before we traded all those guys. The year before that, we signed Brett Lowry, Matt Latos, Jimmy Rollins.
Injury prone.
Well, not even that. Just the fact that we just threw shit at the wall, see if it stick. Kind of what the Mets are doing here. Then they realize, fuck, like, we're not going to do anything with this team. We just need to start over, sell everything, just like the White Sox did. A rebuild's coming, Mark. I hate to say it. You know, you're in a big market city. White Sox fans said that would never happen. We would never rebuild. We're in a big market city. We can't afford to rebuild. Well, we did it. Right now, I'm saying it's going better than I planned, actually. I thought it would be another 2 years before we were really thinking about wild card or anything, and we're kind of thinking about it this year. Probably won't happen. Next year will be better, but Mark, just listen to me, buddy. It's time for the Mets to start over, and they kind of fucked it up by getting rid of Kalenic last year, too.
Here's another thing that I want to talk about. That's really interesting that you said about the rebuild, because if they do go into rebuild mode, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know how soon it'll happen, because that division's still close. Obviously, the Phillies are really good, but there's still plenty of time for them to make up some ground and find themselves back in the division conversation, or even in play for one of the two wild cards. But if they go into rebuild mode, Noah Syndergaard's got to be on the block.
Well,
he's got to be a guy.
Another thing about the White Sox, real quick. This is actually the opposite of the Mets. That year before we traded Sale and them, we started the year like 30-12. That was when we had that real hot start that one year, and shit went down the drain. Just another thing I want to add. It's just it's tough to consider rebuilding, but it might be time. Go ahead with what you're saying, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Syndergaard is under control until 2022, so he's got 2.5 years left. That's got to be attractive to some teams. When he's healthy, I mean, the guy throws 100 miles per hour. It's probably like one of the easiest 100 mile per hour I've ever seen in my entire life. He just like steps back very patiently, kicks his fucking leg up, and just throws 100. Like it's incredible. He's got a nasty slider. He has command. Kind of gotten his ERA is kind of high. He got roughed up a few times early on in the year, but he's been pretty good. When he's healthy, he's a top 15, top 10 guy in all of baseball. So that's going to net you a big return. The Padres have been linked to him. They tried to get him in the offseason, and the Mets said no. But we'll see what happens. But again, we talk about the Indians with Trevor Bauer and Kluber. We talk about the Nationals with Strasburg and Scherzer. You have a potential for 5 really good guys to be on the block come this trade deadline. So that's going to be something to look out for, to keep your eyes out for. But, we'll see what happens. Hopefully the Mets can turn it around, because I'm sick and tired of that team, except for Peter Alonso being a pussy, getting babied by the Yankees every single year.
Holy shit. Just a little side note here. I'm watching MLB Network. Jason Hayward snapped his bat today. Very impressive. Good for him.
It's about one of the only things he's done in his tenure as a Cubs player that was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, good for him.
Yeah, good for him. But we're getting a little long here, so we'll kind of wrap it up here. I'm getting rid of a couple of the topics that we had planned, but there's one that I really want to keep. This will probably be one of our last topics of the night, but 19-year-old top prospect will skip the MLB draft to sign.
This is big. This is really big.
This is really big. To sign a 6-year, $7 million contract with the Fukuoka Hawks in Japan. Deegs, before I put my input on it, I want to hear, what do you think about this plan that this 19-year-old has, who's our age, so kind of a big deal.
So let's put this in perspective, who the guy is and everything. Carter Stewart, right-handed pitcher, was the 8th overall pick last year in the draft by the Atlanta Braves.
Didn't sign.
Was going to sign. He was going to sign, and then a medical exam discovered he has a wrist injury, or he had a wrist injury that scouts thought would be nagging, that it wouldn't go away. So they offered him less money. He didn't sign. He went the JUCO route. Looked pretty good this year.
He kind of had a rough year, considering that he was the number 8 pick last year.
I agree, but he's a guy that throws mid-90s with a high spin rate curveball. I was just listening to the MLB Pipeline podcast, which is super good, with Jim Kayos and Jonathan Mayo. They were talking about him, how he still has really good stuff. Obviously, he was the 8th overall pick. So he goes the JUCO route. This year, he was a projected, I want to say, back end of the first, probably a second-round pick. So instead of doing that, his agent, who is the fucking notorious Scott Boras, finds a loophole, decides that they're going to sign a 6-year deal, which is basically a minor league deal. Kind of like with the whole service time thing. You get your first 3 years, and then you get your ARB years and all that fun shit. Yeah. He's going to take the guaranteed money and go to Japan. 6 years, $7 million. Would have been more than what he got, probably, depending on where he got drafted in this year's draft. Obviously, we know with the whole minor league players how they don't make a lot of money. You're kind of at the team's will. They control you with the whole service time thing. You're poor, essentially. You hear all these stories about guys in the minor leagues who have a shitty time and everything and whatnot. So he goes to a league that a lot of people will regard as one of the better leagues in the world, I would say. A league that produced Ohtani. Miles Michaelis pitched in this league. A ton of guys that have come out and had productive big league careers have come out of the Japan League. I don't know what the name is, but it's a quality league. He's going to start out in the minor leagues in the Japan League. He's going to go up against grown-ass men in a hitter-friendly league at 19. That's not going to go well. So he'll probably start out in the Japanese minor leagues, and he'll come up eventually. I think, honestly, I don't have a problem with it because the whole situation with the minor league system, how shitty it is and everything. Hopefully that gets fixed when the new CBA is up, because honestly, dude, you have a guy here who took a really good look at himself and said, hey, I'm not going to get drafted where I want to get drafted. I'm not going to get the money that I want to get. So why don't I go and take the guaranteed money in a league where I'm going to get $7 million? His contract is fully guaranteed. I'm going to play. I'm going to get to develop. I'm going to play against not big league caliber hitters, but professional hitters, instead of playing up against 18, 19-year-olds who probably won't ever sniff the big leagues, which is what he would be doing if he hit a minor league system. And then if it doesn't pan out, shit, I can stay in Japan, probably get another contract, still play baseball against professional guys. I got $7 million guaranteed, which is a lot more money than I would have got if I stayed in the minors. If it pans out, he's going to hit free agency as a 25-year-old who at that point is probably going to be sitting in the upper 90s with his nasty curveball. Yep. And he's going to get to choose where he goes.
And we all know in Japan, curveballs are big, so he might learn something else about it and become even nastier.
He's going to learn, from all the guys that you see, the Japanese guys coming over, fucking throwing fork balls and splitters and all that fun shit. So, I mean, he's going to get to pick where he goes at 25 after developing and playing against professional caliber guys. For 5 or 6 years, or however long he's up in their major league system. I like it. Honestly, it's a smart move. It's a guy who was honest with himself and didn't let his ego get to him, and took a good look at himself and was like, hey, this is where I'm at. The only thing that I could see about this is this could be a precedent, honestly, dude. And I think if other guys and other top guys take this route.
Yep, I want to talk about this, yep.
And go to Japan, I don't think it's good for Major League Baseball, honestly, because I'll tell you right now, I'll give you a good example. My team has the 6th overall pick in the draft, and I really want them to take the guy from Vanderbilt. I can't think of his name right now. I just wrote a fucking article about him, dude. But the Vanderbilt outfielder, J.J. Bleday. He's got like fucking 30 home runs this year, raw power, toolsy guy. If he was there at 6 and the Padres drafted him and he didn't want to sign and he just went to go play in Japan, I'd be pretty pissed off. It wouldn't be really good for my team's organizational structure. But you can't blame the guy.
No.
He's taking his money. And obviously, probably a guy who gets drafted at 6 with no injury concerns is probably going to sign.
Yep.
That's just an example. But he's taking his money. He's taking advantage. Nothing's guaranteed in this game. What if one day he gets hit by a car and he can never play baseball again?
Yeah.
He has that financial security. And this falls on Major League Baseball, dude. It's their fault if a ton of top prospects, if Andrew Vaughn or fucking C.J. Abrams or anybody goes over to play in Japan or goes over to play in Mexico or something, it's all Major League Baseball's fault for the shitty CBA and the shitty minor league rules. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully that changes when the CBA is up. But this could potentially have an impact on MLB going forward.
Yeah. Kind of sticking with this. I think it's going to start a domino effect because I don't think a lot of guys our age or coming out of college realize, shit, I could make a decent amount of money going to Japan.
Exactly.
This could, it might not become a normal thing, but I don't think this has ever happened before, actually, this extent.
I don't think it has either. I remember I was listening to that MLB Pipeline podcast, and they were talking about like the 1991 draft where a guy went number 1 overall, signed for $2 million. A guy went number 2, didn't sign, elected to go into free agency under that CBA, and ended up getting $10 million. So, I mean, that's a pretty significant difference between the number 1 overall pick and the number 2 overall pick. But no, in terms of going over to like a completely different country, that's never happened before.
No. So I think it's going to become a little bit normal of a thing, a little bit more common. I could see it happening more with guys probably coming out of college, realizing that they don't want to go in the 5th, 6th round, that they'd rather go to Japan, get some money, get more money than they would get in the pros with the minor leagues. But kind of going with the CBA thing again, it's going to change. It has to change because this is going to become.
It has to.
It's going to become more common, like I just said. It's going to hurt the league. It's going to hurt a lot of things because nobody wants their team to draft somebody in the 1st round and they're going to be like, well, I'm going to make more money in Japan, so screw you guys. I'm going to go over there, and then you're screwed. Now you guys just get a compensation pick the next year when, honestly, you probably wanted that guy instead of a compensation pick. So
exactly.
It's just not a good thing for baseball.
Yeah, and I mean, we see this in basketball quite frequently now, more often than we did before. But you have top guys like, I mean, a good example would be what's his name, dude? The ball kid, LaMelo.
LaMelo, yeah.
Not going to college to go play overseas. Emmanuel Mudiay was like a top 5 prospect like 4 years ago. He went overseas. Bruce Brown was the guy at Louisville. He went overseas. Like, you have guys coming out of high school who want to make money, want to get financial security for themselves. A lot of those guys grow up in rough areas, want to have financial security for their family, and they go overseas and they get this money because their professional the professional teams just can't give it to them. Mm-hmm. So that's a problem. Major League Baseball makes so much money. There isn't a single team that isn't valued under $1 billion. Even the Marlins, who are dog shit, are valued at like $1 billion.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of money to go around, I think, in Major League Baseball, and it's time that star prospects like Vladdy and Tatis and Eloy and all those guys start getting compensated more, as well as draft picks. So this doesn't happen because we want our guys, our homegrown college guys, obviously to stay here, to join the professional ranks, to grow through the system, and just we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think that's all we got for tonight.
Fuck yeah, dude. What a good podcast. I'm sad PT's not here.
Yeah.
I fucking love that guy. But what a good podcast! I love baseball podcasts. I know we got to talk about football and basketball, and I love talking about that stuff too. You know, the NFL season very stressful for me, but it's fun to talk about. But there's nothing that gets me going like talking about baseball. Once again, thank you for listening. If you made it this far, God, we appreciate you so much. Make sure you guys pay attention to that giveaway. Mahoney's really good about tweeting stuff out, so we'll probably see that.
We'll get that out, yes, sir.
Here. Yeah, for sure. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, fucking every single social media site. We are on it, so find us. Thank you for listening, and have a good one.
Have a good one, guys. Adios.
Perfect.